WTF Nation Radio
is in the house.
What's up, knuckleheads?
Hey guys, this is Ken Ramos.
Hello, military community.
What's up, Warriors? I'm Greg.
2020 has been a crazy year.
But along with our friends at Honey and Team Rubicon,
we can help you end it on a high note.
Honey is a free shopping tool that can automatically apply discounts when you shop online.
And Team Rubicon is a veteran-led nonprofit that provides aid to those hit hardest by the pandemic, hurricanes, and other disasters of 2020.
So to support Team Rubicon's amazing disaster relief work,
Honey is donating $1 for every one of you who download and install their free shopping tool.
This mission won't cost you a penny.
In fact, the average Honey user saves more than $125 a year.
And you'll help Team Rubicon help communities in crisis.
What's the catch?
There is no catch.
Honey makes a commission. It comes from the place you shop.
Not from you.
This is a no-brainer.
It's easy.
It's free,
You help donate to a great veteran-led nonprofit.
and you save a bunch of money. Cha-ching.
So this holiday season,
Download and install.
Donate and save.
Join us.
Join us.
Join us.
join us as we team up for Team Rubicon.
You get to see somebody who's never been around.
To apply, go to warhorsesforveterans.com.
WTF Nation Radio. WTF Nation Radio.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Do you ever have one of those moments where you think, how the hell did I get here? Jeez, what happened to me? I was ruling the galaxy, had a cherry new battle station. I mean, this place had an omelet bar, a straight-up omelet bar. And now look, my former intern's tossing me down a bottomless freaking pit. You know, come to think of it, my whole life has been a series of what-the-f moments. That was my out.
The voice of U.S. Army. WTF Moments. This is WTF Nation Radio.
This is a public service announcement from C.T. Fletcher. I will not contribute to the pussification of a nation. Get your punk ass out there and work for it, motherfucker.
I looked my woman in the eye sockets. I told her straight out. I just said it, man. I said it. I said, bitch, I'm the man of the house.
Yeah, you said bitch, though. You called your wife a bitch.
Yeah.
Let's roll.
Yeah. Break them off some. Broadcasting live from the functional veteran. The Japanese Imperial attack on Pearl Harbor. Oh, man. Bringing us into World War II. Yeah, so that attack happened. So if you've been paying attention to WTF Nation Radio's Facebook page, you've been seeing all the highlights and all the articles about today's day that, as Franklin Delano Roosevelt said, that day would live in infamy.
It has. He wasn't wrong.
Yeah, and it has. Yeah, so that's what brought us into World War II. And then there you go. So there has been some commemorations and some articles written about that. So if you want to check us out at WTF Nation Radio's Facebook page, you'll be able to see all that. I's your host, and my other host is Jose Flash. Hey, what's going on, man? Jose Flash. I'll start calling you Jose Flash.
And everyone seems to think that.
I know, dude. You seem to be disappearing at like specific times during the story time, and then the next, a Jose call out comes. But anyways, how you been, man? How was your weekend?
Man, I'll tell you what. I'm ready for another weekend because I felt like I worked through this whole weekend. So, like, I work the weekends and I work the weeks. So I think this weekend's going to be better. I have plans for this weekend, and I'm excited. But this past weekend, boring. Just a lot of craziness, happening, and a lot of more craziness going to happen during the week. But hey, what can I say? We are almost out of 2020, and 2021 is already looking a bit brighter.
Yeah, I mean,
is it though? Is it? It kind of is. There was some snow in Virginia. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, I guess you can kind of say, oh yeah. Speaking of which, the temperatures have been dropping all around. And,
I love it. This is like I miss cold weather and snow. Like last year. 2 years ago, though, it stayed like it was freezing up until April, and that was kind of crazy. But, I like it to be cold in December. A little, just one actual snow day would be kind of nice in December, right before Christmas. But, because my wife doesn't want to move any farther north. So, hey, why not? There's a little flurries. I was happy.
Well, I mean, you want to go ahead and get that. I don't know. It's almost seasonal. It gets you kind of festive when there's the snow out there, and it gets kind of cold and stuff like that. I know from
Got my Santa Claus hat on and everything. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, my kids are like, Dad, keep the beard. Why? Because we need Santa. We need a Santa Claus. So they want me to dress up like Santa. Because I'm already sporting the, you know what?
Santa eyes, drinking all your scotch.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll be probably posting some pics with the little ones that wanted to, you know, because they're like for the No Shave November stuff. I didn't shave, and they were noticing. They're like, yeah, Dad, that looks almost like Santa like. So my youngest daughter was like, "Can you keep that through Santa?"
Like with that belly.
Yeah, I don't have a belly. What are you talking about? I'm not a ho ho ho. I don't ho ho ho. I don't have a belly. What are you talking about? No way, man.
Only Santa that has the stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I'll be like a thinned out Santa. I'll have a
Jenny Craig Santa.
Yeah, exactly, Jenny Craig, Nutrisystem Santa. But anyways, yeah. So I mean, I kind of like the Festivus. I mean, it gets kind of, I don't know, makes you feel cozy, makes you feel whatever when it gets kind of cold. I mean, it's like as soon as it gets below 40 degrees, I mean, because when I run in the morning, and I was usually like, I don't know, 45, 50 between that temperature, and the sun comes out a little bit, and then, then it goes, then it gets pretty, I don't know, it gets a little warmer, but then it sprinkles rain and stuff like that. So then, of course, it gets you kind of that, you just want to chill. You just want to, you know.
Macon says fuck snow. I feel like his parents really wanted to name him Bacon, but the wife changed it at the last second and they named him Macon.
Macon, I don't is that a real name?
Macon Swiftwick.
I know the name is like that's like Macon, Georgia. That's the
I know, that's the only way I can if I'm pronounced it wrong, I apologize. You can write it phonetically in the chats, but it's honey, I really want to name him Bacon. It's my favorite food.
You can't name him Bacon.
No, Jebediah. You can't name him Bacon.
Jebediah.
We're going to name him Macon instead.
But anyways, yeah, it's I don't know, it just seems like it's really, just real festive, real, you know, drinking some hot coffee and then drinking some eggnog, a little spiked eggnog there. I know everyone's like going, ugh, gross when it comes to eggnog. I don't know why.
What is the thing with eggnog that people hate?
I don't know.
You didn't know where I was going with that, did you?
No, I don't know.
I absolutely love eggnog. I grew up on it. It's one of my favorite things. My wife tried buying some before Thanksgiving though, and I had to be like, no, it's for after Thanksgiving. Of course, then that went bad, and my wife got mad at me. But hey, whatever. I'm just saying, you know, eggnog is delicious, and then when you drink eggnog that's like with like some bourbon in it, awesome.
Right.
So
awesome.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
but people
exactly.
are all like turning their nose up to it, like it's some kind of like, right. You're not cancel culturing my fucking eggnog. It's not happening.
You're not for real, dude. Because I mean, if you have like an ounce of brandy, drop some cinnamon in there, and you know, or nutmeg or whatever. It's fucking good, dude. It's
delicious.
It's all. I don't know what everyone gets mad about it. They're like, oh man, it's gross. I won't drink that. I don't drink it. But anyways.
I didn't buy the eggnog for you.
But yeah, exactly. So what's so anything big in the news, man? It's kind of like, I don't know. Has it been kind of like dead lately? Has it been kind of like this Monday edition? By the way, we have a guest tonight, and looking forward to our guest. He's gonna be on to shoot the shit. Torre Willadsen from Dogs to Dog Tags. He came on a while back to talk about long time ago. Yeah. What their mission is and what they do. It was kind of funny because Kaz was talking about service dogs and talking about. I'm gonna ask him some questions about that now because seems to be a lot of emotional support alligators I can't bring on the airplane or something like that. Or
hey, look, I want my emotional support armadillo. It curls up into its own like carrying case. I'm just saying it's perfect.
Exactly. I want some of that. I don't know. Well, of course, we'll get into the intricacies of that and all that once he gets on here. But he'll be on at 2100 or 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time to shoot the shit with us and BS. But anyways, on with the Monday edition. Of course, bringing you news, commentary, and discussion about things in life, in the news, and probably I think we're gonna stay off mainstream, right? We're gonna have the
we're gonna go off the beaten path,
right?
We've been talking so much politics, and we all know the writing's on the wall. Joe Biden is your president, is going to be your president
my
as
God.
of January, was that 11th? He's already making picks. There's already talks about a former general as Secretary of Defense pick. Donald Trump's still trying to appeal to everyone to overturn election results, but it looks like everything's signed, sealed, delivered. You're gone. So we all see it. The big thing
people
next
upset,
coming up is the runoff election for both Senate seats in Georgia that will pretty much decide if they split or if one side is able to gain control of the Senate. Will the Democrats control all three branches of government, or will the Republicans be able to stonewall stuff and get in the way so nothing happens for the next at least 2 years? Tune in, in about a month. Outside of that, I was just trawling through, and let's do some social commentary.
Right. Real quick, I'm glad you brought that up because there was a news report released around noontime that Chuck Schumer said that now this is the only politic portion about it I'll talk about a little bit, was that Biden's planning on considering forgiving $50,000 in federal student loan debt for all borrowers. Is that what's up with that? What do you think about that, man?
Okay, so what? Hold on 1 second. You caught me right when I was finishing my bourbon. Wow. So this is what's going wrong. If you have federal student loans, this is something to pay attention to because it does seem like something will happen regardless. Currently, Joe Biden has a plan and supported a plan that would eliminate about $10,000 from your federal student loans. While depending on how many student loans you have, that might take care of the whole thing, or it might be a drop in the bucket. Who knows? For a lot of people have been racking up anywhere between $30,000 to $60,000 in student loans, sometimes more, and that's just in federal loans. Not so. This has nothing to do if you have a if you have a private loan, you're screwed. But Chuck Schumer has been saying, and he's been saying for a hot second, that through executive, and again, rolling back just a second, but Joe Biden wants to do that through Congress, not a executive order. He wants to actually have Congress approve and bring a bill up to him from the side that would eliminate $10,000 from federal student loans. Chuck Schumer, on the other hand, wants to go fucking whole hog and wants to boost the economy, wants to have Biden drop $50,000 from people's student loans like that. And how we can do is actually with a simple executive order. So Chuck Schumer's it's been kind of weird because every so often Chuck Schumer comes out and says this. He's very big on, dropping student loans. And Joe Biden's kind of like, well, hold on. So, we'll see what happens. But, progressive lawmakers are big on this. And a lot of economists think that this will help boost the economy more than providing pandemic relief. But hopefully, people. So in note, they say that it could, estimates that for giving up to $10,000 in federal student loans for every borrower would add less than 0.1% to the national gross domestic product annually from 2021 to 2030. And over that time span, it would only add 43 cents in real GDP for each dollar on debt forgiven. Not so much.
Well, so then how much would the total cost be then, with using some beer math on that one?
The cost of forgiving up to, was it $10,000 per borrower would be around $300 billion or roughly 1.6% of the GDP. Goldman, they estimate, while forgiving up to $50,000 would cost roughly only $800 billion. Though Biden has never promised to that degree for student loan forgiveness, that is something Chuck Schumer is pushing out. Now, most of nearly $1.6 trillion in federal student loans to more than 43 million borrowers is held by middle or upper income households who most likely save and not spend much money on loan forgiveness.
Right.
But economists have echoed concerns among critics who say that student loan forgiveness would disproportionately benefit individuals with higher incomes. Additionally, student loan forgiveness could come with potentially significant tax implications.
Implications
that could do more harm than good to borrowers in the near term. Pretty much saying that debt forgiveness is usually treated as a taxable income that could force taxpayers to pay roughly 20% of the debt ultimately forgiven in taxes, barring a legislation or administrative change to the tax rules. So if you're paying 20, if you get, say you have $10,000 student loans and they're forgiven, you still have to pay possibly 20% of that in taxes. So what's 20% of 100,000? $2,000? $2,000?
We're like asking some of the most biggest non-math people in the fucking room.
I know.
I'm like, huh? What? I'm some blah.
I would say
need some math people.
I think it's like 20,000. So you're paying $2,000 off $100,000 that's been taken off your student loans. If loans were forgiven immediately, however, the Treasury financing needs might actually decline as tax payments on forgiven amounts would likely more than offset the lack of scheduled loan payments. President-elect Biden ran on a bold but costly higher education platform that includes student loan forgiveness for Americans after 20 years of repayment capped at 5% of personal income. He's also declared Congress should immediately cancel $10,000 in federal student loans for every borrower as a result of the pandemic. So not give you money, but take away what you're paying, you've been paying for, as have some Democratic senators. So, but a lot of people worry, say given the pandemic's disproportionate toll on minority groups who, aren't blessed to have a job that they can telework and have been kind of getting screwed by this all the stuff Congress is failing on because they're not actually doing anything in Congress. That's just my hill, and I will die on it.
No, you're right. They're not doing shit.
But given that it's disproportionate, who it's affecting. The idea has gained traction as economic stimulus measures that could help bridge that racial inequalities, since minorities on average take on more student loan.
That's kind of.
Well, if you think about it this way,
I'm not saying no.
Most middle and higher class families, they happen to get more scholarship programs. They're able to get private student loans, and a lot of them just there's a good bit that have family that save up and do that. A lot of lower income families, a lot of them minority based, aren't able to, and they have to take more student loans in more federal student loans, which so having some kind of relief could be, and I hear the whole thing. I hear the whole thing a lot of times because it's unfair to the people who had to pay all of them.
Right.
And I understand.
You take a loan out, you pay it. That's just common sense.
And I understand that, and I get that, and I'm one of, I have student loans and I pay them every month, even though it fucking hurts. It feels like my wallet's going, just kill me.
Right.
But on the other hand, if I had cancer and they found a cure for cancer, no, I had cancer. Everyone else has to go through fucking chemo just like I did. For me, the $10,000 canceling, I think would go a long way. $50,000 to me seems a little too excessive when it comes to helping people out. I think 10,000, would do more good than bad, than opposed to the 50,000 cutting off 50,000 from people, because people still have to pay it. If you have $20,000,
right, that's what I'm saying,
$20,000 loan, and you get $10,000 taken off, well, shit, you just half your payment, which could, make it so people can pay shit off quicker, and then they can start putting more money into the economy instead of into student loan companies. And the federal government, honestly, some economists came out and said the federal government could cancel literally all federal student loans, and still barely be a blip when it comes to the money that comes in and out of this country. No, I think it's more extensive than that, but I'm up for if a $10,000 plan came through and was approved by Congress, I wouldn't really get upset about it. I'd be like, cool. Because honestly, that actually would take care of pretty much all my federal student loans, and I can stop caring about that.
I honestly think that, like I was saying before, if you incurred a debt, just like buying a car, just like or racking up a credit card, it's incumbent upon you to pay it. I don't see why I have to be taxed or because it's got to come out. The shit's got to come out of somewhere. It's got to come out of some. Yeah, it's got to come out of somewhere.
Everyone's going to end up paying it regardless.
Right. So I don't.
But the problem is
fuck that. No.
The problem is school to the average cost. Oh, hold on, Go ahead. You go ahead and say your point while I do
Okay.
some research.
Okay. Well, here's my thing. Here's my thing is that it's that a lot of it, and I'm glad you said that too. But you were about ready to start on one of the things I was saying. The tuition rates are freaking through the roof. The book, what it costs for a student to go to school with, all that shit is through. It's over. It's like it's when I ask people when they have specific properties and they're really really high, and when I was house hunting and I was like, dude, what's so expensive about this place? Well, it's because it's here. Yeah, but what makes it expensive? What makes these schools of these organizations of higher learning, these institutions of higher learning, what makes them so fucking expensive to where they have to have these large amount? Because it's dude, I'm telling you, it is a circle fucking jerk of money going back and forth with these institutions charging a way amount of. Don't get me wrong, like being a doctor or fucking doing some lawyer shit or being something that's, I would say a little high technical stuff for schooling. Yeah, I can see that being a little expensive. But then the exorbitant amount of other costs that come into it, then they're kind of like at fault too. They're kind of like perpetuating this need for someone to get a fucking student loan. And then the next thing you know, you're kind of like, oh, well, and I'll be honest with you, everyone likes to talk about how things are in Europe and how things are being this. If as a matter of fact, in Europe, you're put in a case system according to your fucking grades. There's three types of schooling that you go through, and if you don't meet a specific class of grades, or you don't meet a certain level of grades, it don't matter how much fucking money you have. You couldn't make the grades to go to the school, then guess what? You go to the lower class. If you're okay, you go to the higher class. If you're a damn genius and you got it, then you go to the higher class. But that's it. No one's gonna. It's expected. No one's gonna sit there and say, no, well, it has to do with gender, race, or whatever. No, it's your fucking grades. Your grades are matched to if you can be competent enough to attend these schools. Now, then the other side of this is that you have the professors that are tenured, and you know what I mean. You have those guys that are there forever, and I don't see why. And exactly that, Heather. Good point. To go to college, why is it fair that I have to pay for other people's debt? Exactly. Work your ass off. Didn't have to do it by myself. Bought your house. See, there you go. I wasn't coloring my.
Did you receive a pandemic relief stimulus check? If you did, fuck off, because everyone's already paying for everyone.
Right. I got some Trump bucks. You got some Trump bucks. Everybody got Trump bucks. So if you
get some Trump bucks,
yeah. So if you got some Trump bucks, I think it's stupid that everyone has to pay for this shit. And what if I don't want to go to school? What if I don't want to go to school?
I'm still waiting to see what the tax implication is. Like they say, it's going to be like a credit that it'll be put on there as a credit, but you've already received the credit. So really, it's just like it won't make a difference. But
but you're not.
Continue.
Right. I was just going to say, it's that you have those debts incurred, and those the exactly that cost, the formal cost of education. It is so outpaced its value. The tuition costs and the fees are so out of control. Even when, like right now, I'm going to go to school. I'm like looking for some stuff at school, and I feel bad because I'm going to be walking in there with some. I got some Montgomery GI bucks. I got the old school. I got the old shit, and I got all the extra bennies and also the shit they're gonna have that some 9/11 kids don't get. I got the older school ones. So am I gonna have to pay now for these newer kids that join the army later, that they didn't get their GI bennies that are different from mine? Do I gotta pay that too because I had joined the military back in pre-dawn time, and they have to have a specific amount of costs and all that. So I'm looking for schools. I'm gonna be sitting in class, and I'm gonna be listening to somebody going, "No, you need to pay for my education." Then I say, what am I going to say? Well, I'm going to join the army or do whatever. But I still don't think that you should pay. I shake my head when these individuals say, I need my debt forgiven. Well, nobody told you to go to fucking school. Nobody told you to go to fucking school. Nobody said you had to go to school. No one said. As a matter of fact, it gotten to the point to where it was so important to get schooling. It was so important to get that degree that now
tech schools are now becoming obsolete.
Right. Well, tech schools
are obsolete because now there's a lot of people who aren't taking these tech jobs.
Exactly.
Because everyone's told you have to go get a liberal arts degree. You have to go get a degree instead of go get a certification that gets you. Like,
so now those commercial
just came up.
Exactly. So now those commercial
Stop listening to me, Google.
Yeah, exactly. So now those commercial trades that you were just talking about, it was an emphasis to go to school. Because when I was growing up, and Cos will tell you too, because we're around about the same century of ageness. Maybe I'm just a tad bit old. But it was just like bam. You would have to have some level of trade schools to go. It was emphasized. You need to get a degree for this. You need to get a degree for that. But you also need to get some schools for this. Some trade schools for that. Now there are certain trade schools that exceed the amount of income. Like you'd have thought, hey, someone has a business degree or someone has a communications degree and they're making so much money. At least that's what they were told back in the day. And here comes a guy who's an IT network kid who just sets up cable, who just finished maybe two or so years of college after high school, or maybe just did high school and is making bank while the other one is sitting there fucking eating ramen, begging for fucking forgiveness for a student loan. Nobody told you to get that. Nobody told you to get those. Nobody told you to go to school. Nobody told you to get. Now, if you are a life-saving or you're a doctor, you have that calling, a scientist or some shit like that, fucking A, man, that's a good, to me, that's almost, I would say, more a technical trade. I mean, people will argue me back and forth when I said this before, is that.
So check this out.
Well, go ahead.
Okay, so check this out, because I've been crunching numbers. We're gonna work backwards, okay? So we're gonna start with 2020 and work our way back. And I did it like every so often. So it's only 3. So check this out. So the average in-state tuition for a public college is roughly, for a 4-year degree. So this is all the same. It's a 4-year degree. In-state is $11,171. Not too bad. If you graduated and you have a bachelor's degree and federal student loans, that $10,000 pretty much would, Oh, but this isn't including what your interest is. That's what kills people. I don't mind paying back the loan. It's the fact that I'm getting like bent over on interest. But anyways, so $11,171 in 2020. For out of state for public colleges, it's about $26,809. Again, this is on average, so it fluctuates. So, but for private schools, the average cost for a 4-year school is $41,411. That is not including boarding, food, or anything like that. That is literally for the degree itself. Okay, so that's our baseline as we move forward. Next is 2000. So 20 years ago. Now this changes a little bit. This is a public college 4-year degree. Tuition, fees, room and board, the whole shebang. For a public college, on average, it was $8,440 for a 4-year bachelor's degree. If you're not a fucking retard. If you're a retard, I can't help you. Out of state, it's looking more like $12,310 on average, and then for a private school with full tuition, fees, room, board, everything, and $2,000 for a 4-year college was $22,240. Now, rolling back, now that's I only want to discuss that, but I do want in 1971. Check this shit out. Now I'm not comparing.
Me and Cause.
I'm not comparing 2020 to 1971.
Okay.
Before my next argument, I'm not comparing the two.
Go ahead.
This is more just for, was just interesting, so I figured I'd continue on. This is numbers coming from an article that USAtoday.com did last year, 2 months ago. There we go. Public tuition in 1971 for the whole shebang, fees, room and board per year, for the whole thing was $1,410 for public. It's about $3 something for if you're out of state for a public college, and if you're a private school, tuition, fees, room and board was $2,930. So. But then we do take into effect, especially that's why we can't compare 2020 to 1971, because on average we make a shit ton more. The average person that gets a bachelor's degree makes a shit ton more than the person who made money in 1971. Like you could live off of $3,000 for a full family for a month and not even bat an eye. Whereas today, $3,000 barely gets you fucking food. And you barely have enough money to pay.
No, you're right. A dollar did.
Live.
No, you're right. A dollar did go a long way back in the day. I mean,
now so let's talk 2000 to 2020. I mean, look at the jump let's start it with the private school where, you're at 100%, you're nearly 100% increase, with just tuitions for the whole shebang. But that, and then the big thing that gets you is the interest. Holy shit, they get you with interest. It's like, I mean, I got it. Like, I have no problem paying back my student loans, but sometimes, like, I don't think you should get student loans when you're 18. That, or you need to take more classes. Like, someone needs to. I feel like there needs to be more. I feel like there's more requirements to own a gun than there is to get student loans. Like, I think that's the biggest thing. People just don't know. And this is not for the argument. This is just my thoughts. I don't think people really understand when they're 18 and thinking about what they want to do, how much the student loans are going to fuck you in the ass. Now, and I will say that I am for about 80%. You bought it. You pulled it. You pay it back. I got you. I'm not saying that a little help wouldn't go a long way to help a lot of people. I'm just saying that I do agree that if you borrowed it, you should pay it back. But this interest is really what gets you, because everyone comes out thinking that they're going to be, except the people who decide to get liberal arts degrees. Fuck you. How stupid do you have to be to have a fucking nonsense fucking degree? I would know, because I got my first degree. My bachelor's was in something, was a kind of a semi nonsense fucking degree. But hey, I made it work. I made it work in the Army, damn it. And they got the Army to pay for something for my next step. So you got to be smart. But if you got an engineering degree, there's potential for money, but you still got to know what you're getting into. I really wish like somebody would really, there should be more classes. There should be almost a degree to to pull out money to get a degree. Like parents really don't know.
No, but I think the drive to get a teenager, a student in high school to apply for applications, I think what it is that we give them some unrealistic expectations when they want to, if they're getting, oh, good job, you scored perfect on your SATs, and then you applied for this school, and then you made it, and then the parents are going to have to like scramble, and the parents are going to be like,
that you have to pay Yale prices. You're in Yale, you're good.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. And then the parents are, sometimes I think they're the unrealistic expectation, and they're like, Mom, dude,
your check is going to student loans.
Right. I'm sorry, man. If I have to sell my bike so that way the kids can freaking if all of a sudden now my life is at this point to where, I mean, don't get me wrong, all my kids, going to school, and I mean, they're not that one, but they're not, one of them is of age, but I'll support her what she wants, and I'll get her what she can get, but she's also when she has some common sense about this stuff when it comes to school, when it comes to the expectations that, okay, look, I know I'm going to have to be doing this, or I'm going to have to be doing that, and it's going to cost me this much, it's going to cost that much, blah, blah, blah. She's kind of like going through your head. So they're being soaked with a six-figure education and surprised exactly cause bang. Oh man, bang.
No, cause is exactly right.
It's exactly right, man.
These kids expect that, and I kind of I knew I was going to have to to grind to get my first gig when I got my bachelor's degree. Like I knew it was going to be a struggle. I didn't realize, of course, I graduated, and then the economic downturn of 2009 kind of just came in and like walloped everything all my field. So that was poor timing. But there's some people who expect they're going to come in and get like, I have a buddy of mine that when we were growing up, and he went to VMI. He did his thing, and then was able to, got his degree in engineering and architecture and stuff. Got out of the Marines after doing just his quick tour or whatnot, and then, but still, he expected to get a better job than what he got. He was expecting to be fucking designing shit, and was so upset so much that at one point he deleted me off of Facebook for a couple of months because I was like, dude, I said, what do you expect? You were in the Marines shooting fucking you were in the Marines shooting fucking artillery.
I know,
and not designing shit for the Marines.
I think it's funny, and this is where when some of the bro vets get pissed off when they're like, they're ready to fucking get out of the Army, and they're blue cord and tank.
I'm so cool. I'm better than you.
Exactly.
If you're not
fucking
infantry, you're fucking support. And then I got out the military and said, hey, bitches.
No, my
How
biggest thing is that
today?
they exactly they have an expectation they're going to come out,
is
especially
your Blue Cord providing you financial cash because my former support job has helped me
correct
get a ton of experience. So when I said no, you have to pay me this,
the officer side of the house is pretty fucking nuts because they're coming out of their degrees and they're coming out of college and they get enticed, especially pilots. They think that don't get me wrong, I'm not saying there's nothing technical about being a pilot. I respect people who fly. I mean, aviators. I mean, that's just to me like this takes that talent to do, right? To utmost respect. But in the end, when they're not flying, what are they doing? In the end, what can they do or what's expected? So they have to depend on their education. Well, if they didn't have that hardly any education when they were aviators, especially like warrants or something like that, and they've only did the high school to flight school type of thing, they're not going to have that much experience, nor are they going to have enough education to compete in the world. And they're going to think they're going to roll into a 6-figure, 7-figure freaking executive pilot job unless you're fucking lucky or you know somebody. It's just not going to fall out of the sky. So, like Cos was saying, they're inundated.
Pilots, though, have a easier track than your normal 11 Bravo.
No, well, yes and no. Yes and no. I know some 11 Bravos, man, that have come in with college degrees, or they just wanted to join the Army and serve their country, or they just wanted to do their time because of tradition, and they're calling. I mean, I had a damn I had a psychologist for a soldier. It's $1. I had to call him, hey doc,
This is why when I was I would do stories like whether I was in Afghanistan or when I was at Fort Hood or in Korea, and you have to. The stories were the guys making shit happen. So I'd be out there with them, and I hear all the bravado, all the if you're not infantry, you're fucking support. And I was taking I think I was in Germany for some rotation, and I had a soldier with me. She was a specialist. She was brand damn new, and we were out with the infantry company, and all the fucking chest puffing and everything like that. I was like a bunch of peacocks, and I had my camera out, and you always get people who are fuck off shy, get the fuck away from me. Or you get the ones who just want to be douchebags and get in ruin your shots, go like a bunch of assholes, because that's infantry for you,
dude. You had some
whatever, guys, haha, that's
exactly.
funny. I didn't care, but my the specialist with me was like, why didn't you? I said, because they have no future when they get out of the Army, so let them enjoy their fun. This is like them reliving being on top in high school. This will be the last time they're on top, because unless they get really smart, which a lot of them don't, they not saying they won't, but a lot of them, a lot of people, it's hard to get soldiers to want to do college while in the Army. So instead of being prepared to get out, they go they get out of the Army, then have to go to school. So they end up only starting their starting their entry level life if they're in their mid to late 20s, if they're lucky and got out soon. Lying.
Yeah, and there's a lot of
people who are a little I already have a degree, I did all this stuff, now I just need to get out and find
there's
job.
A lot of individuals that seem like to have had their glory end at Friday Night Lights and fucking Varsity Blues. That's their only fame to life, and they think that they can carry that shit.
That's why I don't like when I get people who get all Blue Corps, airborne. That's why I'm like, all right.
Whoa! Stop with the airborne shit.
What are you gonna do?
Whoa!
What are you gonna do?
Airborne is just a way to get to work.
Not everyone can rule WTF Nation, US Army WTF radio and shit. So not everyone's gonna be able to do that. So that slot's filled. So what else are you gonna do with your airborne wings? You gonna use that to dig for gold or? To find food? Are you gonna pawn that? You gonna pawn your wings to get for money for your?
That's why if you're like over 20 or something like that, and you've been able to collect a pension and able to do that, then that's cool. That's something that you can rest on, and you could use that as a different. That's what I'm saying. But I have that luxury.
Not everyone makes it to 20.
Right? Exactly. A lot of and pretty soon, trust me, next year.
How tough it was to actually make it to retirement until
in the Army. Yeah.
I'm actively trying to make it to retirement.
Yeah.
Granted, if you're in the Reserve or National Guard, it works a little different. You can retire after 20 years as long as those years are what they call good years, which means you showed up when you're supposed to, but you still don't get that. It's almost like an added pension when you turn 60, whatever. And if you deploy, that's why it's an incentive to deploy. They knock that time back, so it usually starts at 64. And my former first sergeant was active for 10 years, was reserve for 20 years. He's getting his his retirement at like 58 because of all that extra time. So unless you do that, it's an extended time, but it's still hard to like maintain your body for 20 freaking years.
Well, Octavio has a good point there.
Off your knee,
exactly. Octavio has a good point with the invest. Somebody brought it up on social media and actually said that, if the Army were to have something, how we always talked about, we don't have like home ec or we don't have like shop or something like that. If the Army has at least some sort of financial planning or financial management in any of their schools. A real quick story is that I was attending one of my NCO PDSs, and there was a POI issue, and the course, the NCOIC, the instructor, and he's also a mentor, a good friend of mine too, said, I don't feel like we can't fucking teach this class, so we're gonna have like 2 hours, and we gotta keep the class up, and we can't go and do anything until lunch. What do you guys want to talk about? And we were just like kicking something about money or something like that. And he said, you want to talk about financial planning? You want to talk about, funds and stuff like that? And we're like, what is that? What is that? Hang on. What was that? He's like, yeah, if you want, we could talk 2 hours. Is this unsolicited? I'm not going to go with any groups, or I'm not going to talk about any companies or investment firms to go with. But we could talk about compounded interest. We could talk about if you guys want. And we're like, yeah. He's like, okay, we'll take a break and I'll get everything set up. So everyone goes and, takes a piss break, smoke break, and we come back. And it was probably one of the most educational classes I've ever had in a non-commissioned officer professional development course. It was specifically on, it was as basic as starting off with writing a check, putting a savings account, going to a mutual fund, it was an awesome. And then after that break, the second hour was all about investments, all about investing in properties, all about investing in CDs and bonds.
They barely teach about the TSPs and shit until they were
exactly
to the legacy.
That's what
to the blended.
That's what keyed into the course, because somebody said, hey, I don't know, are we supposed to be doing this TSP shit or what's up? And that's what started off the conversation. Is that right there, I think, to a soldier, and I'm just talking about, hell, just even society, that would be something that if kids these days, to include soldiers in the Army, because they're kids too, everyone's a kid to me, I guess, if they were given that basic foundation of that type of investment, like Octavio was saying, dude, you would be able to have cash flow. You'd also be able to have emergency funds. I'm not talking about the Dave Ramsey shit. I'm talking about the straight up learning from the beginning. So that way, when you get my age in the dawn of time age bracket, you'll be able to rest on your freaking, you'll be able to say, yeah, if I don't feel like working, I don't feel like working. If I want to work to go on vacation to get some extra coin, I could do that. Oh shit, something broke down or something messed up or my dishwasher's messed up or whatever, I could drop this amount of money and immediately real quick. Oh, something broke or I had a major car repair, or I just want to get a new fucking car. Bam, you could just drop cash down. It's real easy, because if you don't do it, and if you don't focus on that and you don't stick to it, then of course that's when you said, Flash, about going into these enticing loans that look like they're a good idea for begin with. When someone's like, yeah, you want to buy this car and all that, it's only going to be you don't have to pay. It's only going to be, payments are going to be like, $400 a month. Really? Mm-hmm. And then they don't tell you it's going to be for 109 months.
Scott says that he switched to the blended retirement because he was a retard. Don't get hard on yourself. Now, luckily enough, we in my reserve unit, we actually had a couple people who do that kind of work or big investments. So when we actually had to do the training for between the blended and legacy, right, there was an actual thing there where you can actually calculate how much you would make per. And I think I was going to make like 15 grand more or something like that after with the legacy. I was like, that's a no brainer. But there are some people that I think if you're just coming in, granted you don't have a choice. I think there's a lot more. Because it used to be you either do 20 years and have something for the future, or you fucking don't. I do like, I'm not against the Army for this, because I kind of like the idea that if you do, you sign up for a 6-year contract, you extend it for like another 2, and you've been on this blended retirement program, you leave with that money that you've been putting aside. So it's something. It's it's something that you can roll into another 401k and have something for the future, opposed to if you did 6 years and you extend it twice or whatever and you're like, I'm done. Well, they're gonna be like, all right, cool, doors over there, bitch.
Right. Well,
but I think know people don't like the blending because you have to give money into it, but it is going back to you. It's not like it's just going to go into a silent army fund. And I'm saying that with a guy with a black trench coat telling me to say that from the army.
But I'll be honest with you, man. I not, and this was back in the day, that I had not. I mean, really, it made a big impact just taking his advice or just getting some of the knowledge that he gave me, so I was able to understand. And it did make an impact to this day right now. To where I can honestly say that if I had not had that introduction to financial planning, or I did not have, I mean, I could balance a checkbook. I mean, I knew how to pay bills, and that wasn't the issue. But when we started going into the more the advanced stuff of investments, bonds, CDs, mutual funds, property management, financial stuff, and then rolling stocks and annuities. That was like, for me, it was like I felt like it was, it was like gambling time. It was like rolling the stocks, man, doing day trading shit, to the point to where, oh shit, I need to get some cash out for this because my like I said, my stove went out, or my washer went out, or I want to get a car, or I want to get something that I want to get a large purchase for, or my daughter calls me up and says, Dad, I need help with this, and it's going to cost me this much to repair my car or whatever. Bam, I can send money and it's not an issue. It's shit like that I wouldn't have been able to do back in the day, but because now, a few years later, I mean, it's paid off to include savings and emergency savings. But you're right, Flash. I mean, I think we need to have the Army put it and inject it into some of its leadership schools, A, for you as the leader to understand your damn self how it is, and then B, how to translate that to to the troops. I mean, back in the day, I mean, you couldn't buy a car without your platoon sergeant's permission. You could not, go do a high value purchase like that without permission from your platoon sergeant, or your platoon sergeant had to go with you to go buy the car, so you didn't have to pay those 41% interest rates and shit like that. Look at us talking about all that stuff. Yay, exactly. But no, we've gone away from that. So then when we sit there and say, well, where's the leader? Where was the leader when we did this? Well, I mean, we don't do that anymore. I mean, I
do think that's an area that NCOs need to step up. Granted, if you know shit that can help other people, help out your squad or whatnot. But NCOs need to understand that, especially now, if you're a E5, E6, E7, you've fucked up enough where it's funny when a new private does it, because it's a running joke. But at some point we have to stop the cycle of stupidity and help these kids making more mistakes. We don't have to keep repeating the same mistakes.
I would rather have Big Sarge go with a Joe to buy a vehicle than Big Sarge having to do a massive leave packet cover sheet from hell. That to me, we're going to talk about that on Sergeant's time.
I mean, I'd rather take a moment of Sergeant's time to go bring in a financial planner or sign up your squad for financial planning. Set people. NCOs need to, exactly, Chris. NCOs lead the way, and I think that if you don't know the subject, there's each and every post and installation that the U.S. Army controls has some kind of financial planning,
right?
Unless you're in a conflict in Afghanistan.
But it's got to be. But I'm telling you though, bro, it's got to be not. How do I say this? It can't be dry. It can't be something like, for instance, right now, we have the attention of some Joes that were probably listening right now and think, hey, well, shit, I gotta listen to this. You're not gonna have Big Sarge talking about financial planning and stuff like that while you're screaming at you and making you stay late or something like that. You'd have to have like a guest speaker, someone who's detached from the organization, so that way Joe could talk. You know what I mean? So,
oh yeah, reach out into the community. See if you can't get someone who works for Edward Jones. Be like, hey, look, you're not allowed to fucking, you're not allowed to, try to sell you.
Right. Exactly.
But would you be willing to come and teach things for our soldiers to look out for investing and stuff like that? Because a lot of these people know that regardless that if you think about it, you'll come my way. So even though you're not, Jose Flash isn't, with Edward Jones isn't actually, selling Edward Jones, but I'm still going to, and people are willing to make that trip because it potentially could add more business.
Yeah, exactly.
And that way you
Exactly.
have someone who's probably more personable because
Right.
in order to sell snake oil and shit like that,
Right,
you
right,
kind of have to
exactly.
be a little charismatic. You have to be a little more personable.
Well, no, you have
And
to talk about what you want. You have to talk about. Look,
Yeah.
you look at the Joe. Like Kaz says, a kid's going to come in. Specialists and privates are coming in with families already. So you got to be able to catch them while they're young at that rank and be able to talk about, hey, look, when you're making rank or to make rank, you realize that if you get so much in debt, it could affect your clearance, it could affect your career. So we're going to help you out and blah, 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 blah. But we got to take
and like Octavia's saying, don't just rely on ACS. You know, they check the block, but you know, a lot of times, and I'm not messing with all the civilians out there who are doing that. A lot of the times they go through so many soldiers, they don't care. Reach out of your comfort zone and try. Come on, NCOs. We need to do better because not every soldier is going to make it 20 years. It's statistically impossible. And there's some soldiers that I've seen some soldiers who are like the most badass people ever. You know, all of a sudden they're getting med boarded out, or
right.
You know, they have something happen where they just can't stay in any longer. Stuff. Shit happens, but you know, the better we're able to help these people, the more the farther away we're going to get away from everyone needing so much help. So then we won't have to rely on maybe a $10,000 student loan check cut, you know, in order to help people out. Oh, one last thing, because I know we got a guest coming up, and I'm very excited about that.
Hurry up, dude. He's like, hurry up.
One thing the Army is fucked up with is, damn, they tax you when they say, hey, we'll give you X amount of student loan relief, and then tax you on it, so you only get about less than a little over half of what you're supposed to. You were promised. You only get about a little over half of it because it's been taxed all to hell. I think the Army is fucked up with that one. So be wary if you're getting $60,000 in student loans, because it's not true.
We're gonna take a break right quick so we can get our guests on. So Tori's been on here for a while, so listening to us to ramble on. So we'll be right back. And then everyone go ahead and refill your glasses and go take a leak, and we'll see you in a sec. Shots.
WTF Nation Radio. WTF Nation Radio.
Take it from me, Ice. You can't just float around space not caring about stuff forever.
The voice of U.S. Army. WTF Moments. This is WTF Nation Radio.
Shit in the bag, Pogue.
Nothing feels the same. Let it all be
another rocket attack. I've got my boots and got my ammo in my 50-pound sack. Boys headed to war in this world unknown. The only peace of mind I've got are these letters from home. Another day has come and gone. Another night I'm all alone. I didn't think I'd be this far out here in Kandahar. Of us, we made it home, but we never came back. When we close our eyes at night, we hear a rocket attack. I've tried to talk and tell you about it, but it ain't the same. All these thoughts that run through my head, well, they can't be tamed. Another day has come and gone. Another night I'm all alone. I didn't think I'd be this far out here in Kandahar. Another day has come and gone. Another night I'm all alone. I didn't think I'd be this far out here. We ain't far from Kandahar.
I am here determined to stop this future atrocity.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe. I suggest we use it.
The voice of U.S. Army, WTF Moments. This is WTF Nation Radio.
I find your lack of faith disturbing. Everything stated on WTF Nation Radio is to be considered the opinion of the person that stated it, and not an official representation of WTF Nation Radio or U.S. Army WTF Moments.
Price does not include tax, title, or license. Some assembly required. Each item sold separately. Batteries not included. Objects in mirror are closer than they appear. If conditions persist, contact a physician. Individual results may vary. Keep out of the reach of children. Avoid prolonged exposure to direct sunlight. Keep in a cool, dark place. And
please enjoy the show. Shots.
And we're back with the part 2 of the Monday edition. Hanging out here, already shooting the shit with our guests. Torre Willadsen from Dogs to Dogs Tag. Dog Tags? Oh, fuck that up. It's like a word song right there. What's going on, man? What's that? Oh, what's going on, man? Long time no hear, man.
It's been a while, man. I'm so glad to get back. I talk to Amy quite a lot. We're friends on Facebook and send messages and tell stupid jokes, stuff like that. And she's like, "Hey, do you want to go back on them?" I'd love to.
Yeah, it's been a few since you've been hanging out. So
I think 18, was it 18?
Yeah, it was just like the beginning or something like that, 18 or something. Yeah, it's been. Yeah, it's been a hot minute. But anyways, so real quick, tell us about yourself, man. Just tell us who you are. Tell us where you're coming from. Tell us what your organization's about. And we'll go from there.
Okay, so as I'm affectionately known by my veterans, I'm that stupid civilian contractor. I'm a dog trainer by trade, and I did a lot of field trials and hunt tests, and I guided a lot of hunts in my home state of Wisconsin. And an opportunity came up in 2011. The DOD got a 608 dog contract for IDD dogs for the Marine Corps. And one of my buddies called me up and said, "Hey, we need help. Can you come do this?" And I was like, "Well, hell yeah." I mean, under one condition. If I'm going to train the dogs, I'm going to train the guys. I'm going to go to Afghanistan with them because I'm not going to send them off and not finish the job. And he said, "You actually want to go?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, I do." So it started January 7th, 2011, and by January 1st of 2012, I was headed to Yuma for ATF certification, and then up to 29 Palms for Viper training. And we trained there from January, February. We left, I believe, March 18th, landed in Afghanistan, and April 18th, we were out in Sangin. I was FSR and 34 dogs and 34 Marines after we did Schoolhouse in North Carolina. And, through the trials and tribulations of some guys getting killed and some dogs getting hurt, and, just being involved in that whole combat atmosphere, I got to be real close with my PSD team. They were the 81s from the 7th Marines, and I had dog handlers in all of the battalion throughout the whole AO. So they would take me around to check on the guys and the dogs and keep the dogs on par. And, the rest is history. We got home, and dudes just started killing themselves, and that was just not fucking acceptable to me. After what they did for me over there, I mean, I was an unarmed civilian. None of them knew who I was. They were all kids. And they kept my life from being ventilated. And we became real close. And to this day, I'm still super close with a lot of the guys I went over there with, and the guys that I met, not just my dog handlers, but, their NCOs and their brothers. We became, a family. They accepted me in because I wasn't a tool bag. And, we just kept going. And Chris Van Etten, who was one of my dog handlers, he was blown up on a night patrol without his dog. And, when he woke up in Germany, he was like, "I need my dog." So, my fight started then to get him Harley, which he still has. He lives in Southern California. He's still got Harley. He's a spokesperson for us. He's a jockey model. He's an actor on General Hospital. He's got his own YouTube channel he just started up. And I went from there. I loved the Marines, and I loved the dogs, and I wanted to do something to pay back. And I started Dogs at Dog Take. So we get rescue animals and Humane Society dogs and donated animals. and we train them up, and we get them to veterans for free, no costs, to help with, what they're dealing with.
Now, with this all together, I mean, how did you start this off with start it up, and what you just like? How did you even start with this? I mean, just gonna get a dog, and who'd you start talking to? How did you build it?
So when I was still in Afghanistan and Chris was blown up, I noticed, what the dogs could do for morale for the general guys, not just the dog handlers. And then when he requested his dog, I kind of put it all together. And I originally started out where I wanted to get the dogs they went to Afghanistan with that were retiring, so they could go home and be with, their battle buddy. And then about a year after I got home, guys just started killing themselves from the battalion. Like, it was happening on a regular basis. It got to the point where we lost eight guys in combat, and we had then lost 12 to suicide when we got back home in less than 2 years. And it kind of turned from getting their battle buddies to them to, rescuing dogs and getting them to veterans. So I just started it out as an LLC and worked on getting the nonprofit status. That's paperwork and lawyers. It takes a while. So I've had my, the nonprofit status has been with us since June of 16. And it's just been a steady kind of growth. Just trying to get the word out there, letting people know, and trying to get as many dogs to as many guys as we possibly can. Either emotional support animals, and now we're working on our first 2 actual service dogs we're going to go for. And we're doing a blog about that because a lot of people don't understand. A service dog is a very special animal. You can get a puppy and not know, what it's going to be. You can get them from breeders that's, specialize in the temperaments that you're looking for service animals, but it's an 18 to 20 month venture. And you could have the most perfect dog on the planet, and that one day they go in to get the test, they fail something. And then all that work has been put into the dog, and it doesn't become a service animal. And then someone gets let down. And I don't want to let anybody down. So
right.
The goal is to place as many dogs with as many guys as we possibly can.
So what's the process then for a dog? I mean, how do you, like you just said, if your dog freezes in the door, what's the process? What paces do you have to run the dog through?
Oh, first of all, as a puppy, socialization. I mean, you have to get them socialized to everything you have to get. It's kind of like when I was training in the military, the bomb dogs. We tried to put them in as many different situations, whether it was a working junkyard and there was noise all over the place, or we go do obedience where the counties or the cities were doing, pavement work and making a lot of noise, or going into grocery stores. Basically, you want to get the dog feeling secure and comfortable in every situation. So if anything abnormal happens, it doesn't surprise them. Their focus needs to be on, I'm comfortable everywhere. So the socialization and getting them into different environments to build their environmental stability, that's really, really important. Now, if you're a good dog trainer, you can look at puppies and go, that's going to be the one that's probably got the best chance to get there. And you can be the best dog trainer on the planet and get to that day, and that dog fails, and you have to accept the fact that you did the best you possibly could, and it just happened. There's a 50 to 70% washout rate on actual, certified service animals. So I kind of go about it in a different manner. I got a little baby Rottweiler that got donated to us from a gentleman who spent 11 years on a submarine, and we had one of the only events we had last year because of this fucking COVID shit and the lockdowns.
Yeah, you ain't lying.
What it did, it messed everybody up, not just me. I mean, the whole country's paying for it. But we did have a ride to rescue that was done with our local VFW, and it's a poker run. And he came up and said, "Hey, man, I really love what you guys are doing, and I want to pay it forward." my rescue Roddy is going to have babies, and I want to give you one or two. So I have a little male. He's 4 months old. His name is Doc, and he's going through the puppy stuff right now. I'm taking him everywhere. He's going everywhere. He's getting noises. He's getting other dogs. I got a Belgian Malinois that's my dog at home, and a Lab that's my dog at home. And then I also have a Bull Mastiff puppy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's going to be a fucking beast, dude. My God. His name is Mattis, General James Mattis, and he's going to a Marine in Southern California. Ronnie Gonzalez, who's one of my PSDs, we've been working with him for 5 years looking for a dog. And he finally found one, and he was like, hey, brother, will you do it for me? And I'm like, fuck yeah. So I met him and his family in Albuquerque, New Mexico. One of my board members lives there, so we got to stay there for free, and he came, brought the dog, and I've got Maddie. He's actually looking at me right now like, what are you doing, dude? And he's getting trained up too. We have a rescue animal from a rescue here in Wisconsin that's with one of the girls that is a very important part of Dogs to Dog Tags, Pam Weekup. So he's an adult dog being trained that he's going to go off to a veteran, and we just gave another rescue animal from a Wisconsin rescue to a local employee that works at an insurance company around here. So we had a big year planned for 2020, and then fucking CV just threw a wrench into it and dry fucked everybody. And
yeah, dude. Oh my God. Yeah. So real quick, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead.
We just had to reform. I mean, we had to go about it in a different way and come up with other ways to keep going about doing it, because here's a reality. You know, they want everybody to lock down and wear the mask and not do anything. Well, our dudes are killing themselves on a fucking basis that's higher than ever before.
Right.
So I can't just sit here and go, yep, I'm going to stay home and I'm going to do this. No, it's just, I'm going to fight through it. I'm going to get dogs and I'm going to train them and I'm going to give them to dudes and I'm going to keep going. And I can't sit around and watch that happen when there's a 99% survival rate on the shit that they're selling us. You just can't do it.
Yeah, that's a whole nother fucking subject that we could.
Right. I can talk to you about that all fucking day long.
Yeah, I was about to say.
we can't do that because I actually have to make sure everybody likes me and not just half the country.
I got the Mastiff and the Rot puppy on the screens right now. So with that, what is? I mean, an audience members that are familiar, but there are also audience members that are not familiar. What is the difference between a service animal? You said there was two types of animals. There's a service animal and emotional support. How does that work?
There's a certified service animal that's open to public. It can go anywhere. It can do anything. And generally people that know, like the businesses, they can't ask you. They can say, does that dog have a purpose for your needs? And you can reply yes. They can't ask for papers. They can't ask, to see what the dog does. They just have to take your word for it. And those dogs are very highly trained. And you can tell the difference between one of those very highly trained dogs or some douchebag who's put a vest on that he bought for $59 off the internet. The service dog will be complacent and laying under the table or next to the person and not paying attention to anyone else. Someone who's just got a dog and put a service vest on it, that dog isn't going to be mannerful. And you'll know the difference. I mean, there's a lot of states out there. California is a big one for it. The rich ladies like to grab a little vest for their fucking chihuahua
right.
and take the coffee bean shop, and it just makes the real service animals look like shit.
Right.
There needs to be a standard across the board. I mean, the American with Disabilities Act gives you a good outline, and they're a great program. But every state has a different variation of what their state allows, and then municipalities also. When you're training a service dog, it's not a service dog. So if you go into a building, technically they can ask you to leave, and you can't do anything about it because it's not a service dog yet. It's a dog in training. So there's great companies I have around here that do it. There's some national companies that do it. They let you take them in as long as the dog is, respectful and obedient and you're doing its job and you're not just a tool that wants to take his dog for a walk at Home Depot, you know?
Right. And that's another thing too. How is it that you were talking about the certification? The American with Disabilities Act. What is the specifics on that one? If you like say I have a service dog, and how does that work? What's the? I mean, like,
so
they can't
the
ask
rules
you.
and regulations. They can't. They're not technically supposed to. They can ask if it's a service dog. If it doesn't have a service patch on it, and all you have to do is say yes, and keep walking. They can't ask you for a show. Like, show me what your dog does, you know, and they can't say, well, why do you have that dog? You know, what is your problem? They can't do any of that for a real service dog. The problem is people that don't have real service dogs go and do that shit. So some people have a bad taste in their mouth, and they just want, they're not being necessarily assholes about questioning, but maybe they have had a bad experience with someone who didn't really have a service dog. You know, it's like the airlines. They've changed their policies. A lot of them have, just because people are bringing chickens and shit on. Oh, it's my emotional support dog.
Exactly.
You know,
Cause
emotional
was
support animal.
Cause was talking about that. Yeah.
Needs to come with me. Right. You know,
Exactly.
my hostage needs to come with me. This is my emotional support rat. Well, fuck that shit, dude. You
My
know
support rat.
it's bullshit.
Exactly. Does it now? So that let's get into that stuff with the emotional support. Now, is there a competing interest between the emotional support industry and the service industry when it comes to them saying no, our needs are more than your needs? Do you ever get?
It's not really competition. The ADA puts it out perfectly. If you guys would pull that up, it'd be a lot easier for anybody who's listening just to pull that up,
right,
and look at the difference between a service animal, an emotional support animal, and then a therapy dog. Because I believe there's three, unless they've changed it, there's three different levels. And the emotional support animal, you can take on planes. It doesn't have public access. Some places will let you do it just because they're cool with dogs. And then the therapy dog is trained just to go to like old age homes and hospital wards and children's wards and stuff like that. They're just for therapy use to go in and visit people. Now, you said something about the DOT, and I haven't checked on that in a while. But you said, what was the rule they changed on that? Because I didn't catch that one.
Effective this month, the cause talked about the new emotional support animal rules that are considered pets instead of service animals under the new rules. Because there's individuals, like you said, that throw vests on a dog and say that it's a service dog, so that way they don't have to pay for them to put their freaking dog in a storage container underneath the. So the changes, of course, got everybody crazy because the transportation regulators said that dogs, cats, and miniature horses should be prioritized as service animals by airlines, but passengers have tried to travel with monkeys, birds, rabbits, and everyone's kind of like going, dude, are you like this legit? So the federal transportation officials were saying that it kind of eroded the trust of the American public with what is considered a legitimate service animal.
Right.
And
so
go ahead.
The services are different. You know, there's no doubt, because I do a lot of emotional support dogs. There's guys out there that I get that are like, hey, you know, I really want a dog, but I don't necessarily need to take the dog to the movie theater, or I don't need to take it with me out into the grocery store. I want the emotional support when I'm at home, or I'm, you know, with my night trimmers, or how, you know, I react to thunderstorms or whatever. So there's a need for them. They don't take as many hours to train as an actual service animal does. Now, I hope you people out there who like the fucking mini horses don't get mad at me, but I think that's a crock of shit too. I'm sorry.
You said this last time too. You said this last time you were on.
You don't need a fucking mini horse support animal. I mean, get a dog. Be a normal fucking human being and get a support animal that's a dog, because that's what they're for. If you want a horse, you know, there's great programs out there that have, you know, riding programs and horse and equestrian interaction for that. But you don't need to travel with a fucking mini horse. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I offended anybody out there.
No, you're far from offending us here. It's just
get a fucking Great Dane. If you want something that big, get a fucking Great Dane.
Because everyone thinks that, because there was a picture that somebody just talked about the peacock, about an emotional service. I think we had a picture of that anyways, of the emotional support peacock. Right. And I'm thinking, are you freaking, and it gets to the point to where do we start drawing the line of what's considered offensive or not offensive when you say, hey, yo, you.
That's where it is. That's where the line's drawn. Dogs.
Yeah, exactly. You really can't.
Dogs. You don't get a fucking squirrel. You don't get a peacock. Exactly. You don't get a miniature horse. You don't grab an alligator. So he's my emotional alligator. It's a fucking dog.
Ooh, that's a good one. I haven't thinking about the emotional alligator, man. Is there anybody that's actually?
I just thought about that, dude. It's like, hey, try that.
Yeah, exactly. Careful. So a while back there was an issue that someone brought an emotional peacock into the airport. Right. And it caused a lot of shit because, as a matter of fact, of course, you know me, I got to throw receipts out. So there is a picture right now of an emotional support peacock in the airport right now, and everyone was freaking out, or the individuals were attacking those, saying that you don't need an This is where the line needs to get drawn, because the animals. I mean, you cannot. I've never trained. I mean, in the zoos, peacocks are assholes, dude. When you see them,
they're fucking assholes.
Yeah.
I lived in Florida on an island down there, and we had peacocks in the village, and they were assholes.
Yeah, and they don't. They when someone says, "No, I need that. I need that." I think
they're just being an asshole.
Yeah, they're just being they're being like a peacock, you know. They're being and you're like, oh my god, where do you can't really draw the line. Or you can draw the line where you people will get upset, people get butthurt because you're like, oh, well, you really shouldn't say that because I have needs, and then that's when the ADA stuff starts coming in, and people start going, well, you have an issue with individuals with severe mental, like, you know what I mean? It's just kind of like, no, stop. Look, a that's a fucking peacock. You're not going to convince me that thing that screams at you or chases you around the freaking park if you get too close to it. Nah. You can't convince me that's going to be stable. Could you imagine being on a plane? Could you imagine being on a freaking plane flying and all of a sudden that thing goes ape shit on you? Oh, ladies and gentlemen, as your captain speaking, like, holy shit, you know what I mean? Nah, I don't think so.
No, there needs to be a line. There needs to be a line. It has to be drawn. And it has to be drawn, and people have to understand that a peacock is not a fucking emotional support animal. It just isn't. If you have any kind of understanding of what canines, some felines and horses, they're bonded with humans.
Right.
Peacocks aren't bonded with shit. They're bonded with whatever mate they have to create more little peacocks.
To create more assholes.
Right. Well, here's my emotional support shark. Exactly. I mean, come on.
Here's my emotional support asshole.
Right. Well, that could be anybody's wife or husband. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Just claim that. So I would be a big proponent of it just being dogs.
Right.
If you have a legitimate trained dog and it goes through the proper steps to be an emotional support animal and it passes, then it's an emotional support animal. If it goes through and passes for the service dog for public access, then it's their responsibility to keep up the work that was put into that dog to keep it an emotional or a service animal. But I just don't see the need for any other animals to be used in that way or abused so they can take them on trips on planes. Or I know people who got vets off the internet so they could take their dog to the fucking casino because they didn't want to go home to let it out.
Right. Yeah. That's the abuse. Right. We were talking last time we talked. We were talking. You said that hopefully there's a governing body that will supervise emotional support and service dogs. Does that exist yet?
No.
Has not come about yet.
The APA tries, and it's just every state, like I said, has a little bit of different take on it and different rules on it. So a service dog is the only dog that can go anywhere. An emotional support dog, they can't deny you habitat or living space because you have an emotional support dog. And I don't know, some of the airlines have now changed that all up. I mean, let's see, in 18, I was trying to fly a dog that was in training from Buffalo, New York to Phoenix. And because I wasn't the actual recipient of the dog, they denied me to get on the plane. I'm like, well, I'm the trainer. I'm literally training this dog to give to the veteran, and I'm taking it to him right now. Like, we're sorry, our policies are this way.
Oh, wow.
So there I am in Buffalo going, I'm fucked. What do I do? And I went from counter to counter to counter until an airline said, we'll do it.
Wow. Now, did they, how are they, see that so did you have to have anything extra? Did you have to like take extra paperwork? Did you have to have any, because see, that's where the mix up is at.
Yeah, you have to have first of all, the medical records for it. They want that. And if it's a service animal, I had it registered under dogs to dog tags as a dog in training. So this particular airline was like, well, I'm sorry, the only person who can go on this plane with that dog is the person the dog is for. I'm like, you're not understanding me. I'm taking this dog to that person. I'm the trainer of the dog. I made the dog. And they're like, well, we're sorry, you're not the person it's designated to. And I'm like, you got to be fucking kidding me. And I was like, so it's just you. So for dogs to travel on the plane, if they're an emotional support animal, you have to have their updated medical records. And then, you tell them it's your emotional support dog.
Yeah,
now service animals will come through the ADA with a card.
Right. I was about to say, how does that work?
Well, it has okay. So they have to have a specific need. So, like I'm going to Doc, if you look at him, I'm going to try to turn him into a physical assistance dog. So I like go to Home Depots and stuff, and I get out wheelchairs and I let him walk next to the wheelchair and get used to the noise and the people and all the atmosphere and the environmental stuff. So there's a physical need, and there's a mental need, and then there's a thing called lock-in. So it has to pass 3 fundamental steps for the training. And then there's a bunch of other things. Like it has to sit outside of a door and wait for you for, I think it's 3 minutes. It can't be reactive to anything. I haven't really, and truthfully, I haven't really focused in on that because I'm just going to go train the dogs to the best of my ability, and I'm going to look at what they need. But the rules are just so scattered. The ADA puts them up there, but like I said, you can go online and buy a fucking vest for $50.
Yeah, I got a meme up here because when you came on, as a matter of fact, I found the picture when we talked about the emotional support animal, and we talked about it. We named it Moco. So I have a photo of the emotional, when you guys were talking about the emotional support animal that you could just put. We put the emotional support animal / anxiety companion honey badger.
Yeah.
From the last time.
Those would be great.
Those would be from last time. That was an awesome show.
If people have issues with people, a honey badger would be fucking amazing.
You ain't lying, dude.
Everybody away.
Not only that, but a honey badger would keep lines moving in the stores. Could you? You just
you wouldn't be waiting in line anywhere.
You're right, exactly. People are just walking around. You somebody pitches you off while you're getting coffee. You could get your honey badger out and
just pull them out of your backpack and say, "Listen,
exactly.
Here's my emotional support. Get the fuck out of my way."
I can't believe I still got the memes from the last time. That's freaking awesome.
It is.
So the with that, what is the service animal supposed to do anyways? What is it supposed to be? I mean,
well, they have tasks. So, like, for instance, if there's a veteran that we're looking at and they have a mobility issue, they can. I'm using the Rottweiler because his dad was 140, his mom was 95. And they're a stable, hardy dog. So maybe they have a stability issue where they might get dizzy and they can lean up against the dog and the dog will hold them up. Or they're in a wheelchair and sometimes they get fatigued and they help move the wheelchair. They can open doors, turn on lights, go to the refrigerator, shit like that. Now, anxiety dogs, they get taught how to cover. If they start sensing when you're going to have an anxiety attack, and they'll creep up on you.
Can they really, though? Can they really sense?
Dogs have, so that's why we use them for sniffing bombs. The only thing that smells better than them, mammal-wise, I believe, is a grizzly bear or a polar bear. One of the two, the bear family. Their senses. When they get to, that's why they also use them for kids who have diabetic seizures. So what'll happen is they'll get a puppy, and the person who's going into diabetic, it'll start, a half hour before they actually have the seizure. The chemical compound in their body changes, so their sweat will start smelling. And the dog will pick up on that because it'll start leading towards that attack that they have when they start having their seizure. So the dog can pick up on that a half hour or so pending the person before they actually have the seizure and can alert them. So that's a medical alert dog, which is a service animal. I've had several people call for that, and that's very at some point I'll move into it because it's just like imprinting a dog on explosives.
Right. I was about to say, okay. Now, does that at all have a dog? Does that affect the dog sometimes? Have some sort of psychological effect to the dog too while it's going through the training? Like you were saying, there's specific tasks that it has to go through, and it just doesn't do it. Then it doesn't do it.
You're looking for a well-rounded dog. The only way you get one of those is by getting them as a puppy and trying to give them the environmentals that they need. They're going to have all dogs have their own personality, and you can find breedings of dogs out there where people have spent a lot of time and money and experience into trying to get the right breed. So, you get a better chance when you find those, but those dogs are really expensive. People pay $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, and I know people who've been ripped off by that.
Right.
There's a company in Virginia that is in court right now for being fraudulent.
Now, now that's another thing too. What were they? You mentioned a little bit about it, but what's the details on that? What were they being exactly?
So
what were they saying? I guess.
Well, this is just my local experience. I have one of the girls that volunteers with me has a child. She doesn't. One of her friends does. Excuse me. And they ordered a diabetic alert dog from this company in Virginia, and they paid him $20,000, and they never saw the dog. So they had the dog there for over a year, and then when they finally met it, the dog didn't even know its fucking name, dude. It was just ridiculous. They never came here to spend time with the little girl because, that's part of the deal. You have to get the puppy around the little girl so the dog can get familiar with her hormonal changes. What you want to do is, for this type of animal, get them around the person who's going to have a seizure at some point so they get used to the dog's pheromones, hormones, and smells and sweat.
Right.
And it stays regular. But when you start moving into a diabetic shock, your blood starts changing before it actually starts affecting you, and then the dog hopefully picks up on that. So that's why they're very specialized and they take a long time. But they never did that, and they're like, hey, this dog's crap. We want our money back. And, so they weren't the only people who did that. So we just there's people out here raising money for this young girl to get a real dog. And this company is in Virginia right now. They're going through, they're getting sued.
Oh, wow. Are they, I mean, isn't that like medical malpractice at that point? I mean, can they go into that big money?
I don't know if it's medical malpractice. It should be, because the people who are doing it aren't doctors. It's definitely fraudulent behavior or misrepresentation of your skills.
Well, I would think for something that has to do with anything with the psyche or something psychological, I would think that you would say that would fall under medical malpractice, because it'd just be, dude. It's just,
I would hope so. They should fucking burn.
Yeah, I was about to say, yeah, because especially if the dog doesn't do anything that could potentially that the owners or the care providers are depending on the dog to do, and someone were to die because the dog didn't do it. You know what I mean?
Right. That definitely neglect.
Yeah, exactly. So does she? Is there like a happy ending to the story? Is she going to get the dog?
Well, they raised her the money, and they're getting a new dog, and it's going through a good, recognized training facility now. And that's as far as I know. I'll see her tomorrow. I bring Joe. I bring Doc, and I bring Maddie out to my friend's place, who's a volunteer. She owns a dock diving business where she does dock diving competitions, and the dogs come and they jump, and it gets the puppies out there, and it's a nice warm building, and there's water, and they get to learn how to swim, and then I call it their spa day, because it's their spa day, and they get to play and socialize, and then I do obedience training in town around cars and stuff like that.
Right.
But I'm in Wisconsin, so it's starting to get cold here.
Yeah, it is starting to get cold. Now, how much? I mean, how big's your staff? I mean, that's how big your staff is. I mean, how many people you got?
We are relatively tiny at the moment, but we've been doing great. So since the last time we've talked, I picked up this wonderful woman named Pam Whitcup, and she is just on fucking point. She's also a dog trainer. She used to work for volunteer at the Humane Society, and that's kind of how I met her. I had a friend who was on the board, and they said they had a problem with the dog, and they wanted me to come in there and do an evaluation and check it out. And she was there, and we became really good friends. And she's everything that I'm not. So I do some things really, really, really well, and then I'm like fucking shit at other stuff. And she's like admin goddess.
Yeah.
She's just dot the I's, cross the T's. She's on top of it. So she has really moved us in the administrative side of things to a whole new level. And, we're doing really well. Getting into some more corporations, people are starting to find out who we are. The main goal for this year was we were going to have, we had a whole bunch of really cool stuff set up.
I know. I remember, man. I remember.
Yeah. I'm friends with some really cool rock bands, and one of them was going to do a show for us here in my hometown, and that got canceled. And we had a whole bunch of corporations that were going to come in, because we want to build an HQ here in my county that has lodging for the veterans to come in, and kennels for the dogs to be trained, so they can come in and do a schoolhouse, and we go through all the training with them, and the dog maintenance, and the needs of the dog, the nail trimming, the brushing of the coat, the exercise, and then the obedience, the sit here, heel, what to look for, how to keep the dog in tune, because it was kind of my job to do that. I trained the dogs before we went to Afghanistan, and then I went to Afghanistan, and my job was to travel around the AO and keep the dogs tight, because if you don't train them on a regular basis, they start to slip. Their skills start to slip, and you just have to be on top of it. So we want to educate the guys we give the dogs to how to keep the dog tight. So that's what we were going for this year, and well, that all kind of got thrown to the side. So
yeah, I know, man. I know. Well, you know what?
It's what it is. But
yeah, exactly.
In other ways, and that's good.
You know what? Why don't you do this? Why don't you have the guys do up a concert anyways and have what we did with Bayou Bandits for one of our shows is for I think it was for Memorial Day is we had them shoot a concert and then we videoed it and taped it and whatever, and you can do something like that, man. We'll help you out if you need some help with that, dude.
Well, I could talk to them about that because here's the deal now. So all the bands aren't doing shit. they make their money touring, dude.
Right, exactly.
So they can put out an album and they can do that kind of stuff, but you have to think about their roadies and their guitar techs and their band management companies and the guys who are their road managers. Those guys are doing nothing. They're sitting at home right now going, what the fuck?
Yeah,
what are we going to do?
Man. It's just...
a lot of the big major companies are putting guys on furlough, because there's no money coming in, because how it works is they give the band money. Well, not so much anymore as how it used to be. The band puts out an album, and to sell that album, they go on tour and they sell merchandise and they sell tickets, and that's how that whole mechanism works. And none of the bands like this company, they did some of the big bands, and no one's doing anything. So no one, if you're not a band member who's getting royalties, you're playing in a fucking bar again, dude.
Yeah, I know.
You've grabbed your acoustic guitar and you're going down to Donnie's Tap.
Yeah, I was about to say you're just going back to old school and just grinding that way.
Yeah, so I feel really bad for, our music industry and all the people in it, because, you go see a band, but there's so much depth involved in that. There's the guys who work in the house and they set up all the sound and the lights. And, then there's the stage hands that help them. Then the guys have their roadies who are their guitar techs, the bass tech, the drum tech. And they have a road manager and a sound engineer. So none of those people are fucking working. None of them. It's been complete chaos in that industry as well.
Yeah.
And I talked to a lot of those guys, and, they're great musicians, but if you can't go out and play in public, you can't make fucking money.
Yeah, I know.
Like I said, if you're a musician who plays in a band and you weren't part of the writing of the material, like some of the older bands where there's only 3 dudes left from the original group, or there's 1 guy left from the original group, the rest are played musicians. They're not making royalties off your, multi-platinum albums before that. So they're out of shit. Yeah.
So,
so we're hoping 21 changes.
I'm about to say we're seeing the 2021 changes for the best, man, because it really is a shame. Because I remember you talking about this last time, having the plans for the stuff for the dogs and all that. Now, where are you located specifically?
I'm in Sheboygan County, Wisconsin.
Sheboygan? Is that really how you pronounce that?
That's really a fucking name, dude. Sheboygan County, Wisconsin.
Sheboygan.
It's kind of like Fly the Lac or Lac de Flambeau. I'm up here in the Great White North.
Sheboygan,
right next to Lake Michigan. Hey? Down there where the brats are made once?
Yeah. Exactly.
Johnsonville Brats. It's in my hometown.
Oh, no shit.
Johnsonville Brat.
Oh, man. That's awesome. And you guys have been around for how long? When's it?
So I started doing it, like I said, in 2012. I started getting dogs that were, military working dogs back to their handlers. And then I started filling out the paperwork in 14. June 5th or 16th, I got my 501c3 nonprofit status. So we've been going for a while, and we're growing slowly. And we're just going to continue to do it. Yeah, we do brotherhood events too. And those are kind of, when veterans get home and they're away from their dudes and they lose that connection of being real close.
Right.
They start sliding a little bit.
Yeah.
So, once, twice a year, we'll just put a thing out and say, hey, we're going to do a brotherhood event. Who wants to go? And we'll raise the money so none of them have to pay for it. They don't have to pay for the lodging or the food or anything, and we'll go hang out and we'll just do some serious fucking guy talk, hey, how you been? What's going on? When was the last time you felt like fucking putting one in your head? You know, just like what veterans would say to each other, but not their family members or the people that they're around, because, you know, they leave their fire team or their platoon and they get out and they go back to their hometowns and they're away from that closeness.
Yeah.
And that brotherhood and that camaraderie. So it's part of, you know, what we do. And when we take the guys, we try to send the wives off to do something for a day, like a spa trip or something, just so they can get some decompression from dealing with our fucking problems.
Yeah, because you were talking about doing a whole dog, we call it like a dog adventure or something like that. I remember that. I'm just like, God, it just blows. So, so aside from that, I mean, we were normally, when last time I had you on, I don't want to jinx you, say, hey, what's for the future?
Well, you didn't, and you jinxed me for not doing it. You got COVID on, dude. It's all your fault.
Yeah.
So, what's for the future is we're trying to raise money the best way we can. We're trying to do as many dogs as we can. You know, like I said, the main goal is we need to get a kennel and a lodging space, because right now, you know, I've got a dog here, I've got a dog at a foster, I've got at one of our teammates. We're looking at getting another dog. A mom just called me up and it's like, hey, Tori, I'm Brian's mom. He's fallen off the wagon. He was doing really good. I'm going to have to send him back to treatment. What can I do with his dog? So I'll be picking up Zartan, you know, just so he knows the dog is safe and he's okay and he's good. So, you know, we do whatever we can to help out our brothers in a situation and our sisters, you know.
Yeah.
The best part about Doc is if Doc doesn't pass the service dog test, he can still be an emotional support animal and he'll be a very highly trained dog. So he's going to go to a veteran either way. There's going to be nothing wasted on this.
Right. Do you get them like any feedback? Do they call back to you and say, hey, you know, hey, this is we're doing great, you know?
We talk to them regularly, every one of them so far. And that's something that we take pride in, and we have a spot on our website where they can ask questions, or they can just directly call me or Pam, our canine operations officer, and say, hey, you know, this is what's going on. What do I need to do? And if I have to fly out and do what I did for the military and, you know, square the dog up again and say, hey, man, you're falling off on this part. This is what you need to do to make that happen. That's what we do. I mean, we don't just give them a dog and go away.
Right. And I'm pretty sure, have you used them? I mean, have you ever thought about using them for kind of like some counselors or some assistants to kind of get some testimonials going for the next batch of dogs that you get trained up? Or have you thought about that yet?
So we're getting some testimonials from them now. We just revamped our website, thanks to Pam and the people that she's brought in as volunteers. So there's a lot of that coming in. We're having a brotherhood event potentially right now. It looks like January 13th to the 17th. There's a veteran I know that I trained dogs with who was a dog handler in the service for 11 years. Him and his wife bought a really, really cool resort in Eureka Springs, Arkansas.
Oh, nice.
And they've got a bunch of cabins, and it's kind of their off season, but they've got some of the best river trout fishing in the nation. So we're going to grab some guys and we're going to go there, and we're going to do a little brotherhood event for those days and shoot the shit and get everybody's confidence back up, and, you know, make people talk that probably need to talk a little bit, because, you know, the wives and the moms and the girlfriends, when something goes down, I get an email.
Yeah, it's again, this, for some individuals that need this, man, this is something that is important. You don't realize how much you bond. I bond more with a dog than I do with a cat, anyways. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I'm not or a peacock or a freaking emotional support horse.
Don't get a horse, or we're never talking again.
Yeah, well, I mean, no, it's just that I feel that with a dog, you could bond together. You know, it's a lot. I don't know. It just seems like it would make practical sense to use the dog more as an emotional or service animal, as opposed to a peacock, a freaking, you know, armadillo, a freaking honey badger.
You gotta figure you gotta take something that can learn, and you can't make peacocks sick. sit. No,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, you cannot.
Well, Badger's not going to do it either.
And if it gets, yeah.
I'm from Wisconsin, and Bucky Badger's our guy, but I'd never try to make him a fucking emotional sport.
Exactly. You know what? I was going to ask you. I heard pigs are good for that too. Is that true? I mean, have you ever heard of pigs?
I don't. I have a girlfriend that I know here who's got a fucking pig, and he's awesome. And they're very affectionate and they're very smart. But the problem with them is they get 400 pounds, dude.
Could you imagine walking with a hog in a freaking airplane? I mean, but it was.
Could you take him on a plane with you, and he would have 3 of the seats?
Right, exactly.
You'd be on the other side of the aisle. I mean, I know they're very loving. She loves him, and he loves her. His name's Oscar, and he's a cool dude. But as far as a certified emotional support animal, I don't see that.
Well, even a small one like a potbelly pig or a javelina.
We could try the javelinas, but those guys are fuckers too.
Yeah, I was about to say, but I think there'd be more. I don't know. I like if you get like a baby javelina or something like that, and I could see one try.
Let's go steal a baby javelina from mom.
Oh yeah, well, you got to survive. You got to survive the fucking the encounter with mom before you start taking that kid. But anyways,
good luck catching that. If you ever tried to catch a pig, dude, I've been to pig wrestling contests, and that just does not work.
All right, hey man. Well, Torre, thanks for joining us. For hanging out with us. Torre Willadsen. It's Willadsen, right? I mean, I'm pronouncing your name like
it's Willadsen. It's Danish.
That's what I'm saying, and that's how we say it. That's how I've said like a German, like Willadsen. That's how you say it in German or in German. So, in Danish, yeah. I can speak a little Scandinavian, so you'd say Willadsen is what you would say. But yeah, Willadsen. Okay, I'll say it like you, Willadsen. Torre Willadsen.
Well, I'm American now, dude. Come on. That was my great grandpa. He's the one who came over on the boat.
That's right. He was rowing too.
But, hey, I want to thank everybody out there in the nation that's listening. If you have anybody who needs any kind of support, hit us up on d2dt.org or go to our Facebook page and send us a letter, and we'll try to get some help out to you guys, and be safe out there, and have a great Christmas. Celebrate it with your family, friends, and just generally love everybody, man.
All right, brother. Hey, thanks for joining us, man. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and take a quick break. And then we'll be right back. So everyone take a leak, go refill your glasses, and get some shots.
It's my
Wear a condom? We're in Fayetteville. No one gets STDs here.
The voice of U.S. Army, WTF Moments. This is WTF Nation Radio.
Everything stated on WTF Nation Radio is to be considered the opinion of the person that stated it, and not an official representation of WTF Nation Radio or U.S. Army WTF Moments.
Price does not include tax, title, or license. Some assembly required. Each item sold separately. Batteries not included. Objects in mirror are closer than they appear. If conditions persist, contact a physician. Individual results may vary. Keep out of the reach of children. Avoid prolonged exposure to direct sunlight. Keep in a cool, dark place. And
please enjoy the show. Shots.
Totally appreciate your revisiting of the WTF Nation. Had a great time. Anyways, so we're actually the last part of the Monday edition. What were you saying, Flash? You're like mumbling all.
Now I want a puppy. Like all the pictures. Like, oh, puppy.
I know, dude. Those are some cute dogs. Man,
yeah, they do some great work. Love having them on. Love hearing them. The honey badger in the support vest.
Right, dude. That was it. Was funny is because it was as soon as he said we talked about it and he said, yeah, I came on this time, I was able to go back and look at the memes that we had shared back in that time, and it was hilarious to pop them back up. And but anyways, so what were you saying about you're gonna get a dog? Is that what you're saying? You're gonna get.
My wife wants another dog.
Was it a good idea not to do that? Should I have not done that?
No, I definitely want another dog.
Oh, okay. I didn't want to get you.
My wife said like I want another cat. I think I would.
Yeah.
We have 2 cats and I'm not a cat person and they know it, so they don't like me.
Same.
And I don't like them.
Yeah.
The dogs won't leave me alone because I love them so much. They're so cute.
There's some meme that I saw. If dogs are man's best friend, then but we won't lead the cops to your weed, and it's the 2 cats sitting there looking at you. Is it you're not? I mean, anyways, but no, I'm just not a cat person. I can't handle I don't know. It's just something about the cat. I mean, I don't know. It's just I like a dog. I feel better with a dog. I mean, I was raised with dogs, and living in a ranch and stuff like that, and having dogs growing up, and it just, I don't know, I got used to having dogs to begin with, so it wasn't like it was, but having a cat, I'm not a barn cat, but that's about it.
Here's how I know I am a straight up dog person. Today, as I was kind of, drinking a little bourbon and kind of looking up stuff that's going on, kind of getting kind of prepped for the show, I saw this story about how this man in, I believe it was California, he's kind of living out in the wilderness, and he hears growling in his backyard-ish area, and he walks out and looks like 100 yards, and there's a big-ass black bear that's pulling his rescue pitty, pulling it by its head away, and this man hauls ass and tackles the bear and literally is grabbing it by its throat until it lets go. The dog did live. The dog's got, it looks like Scarface now, but he's alive and will forever fight for that man. And my wife says, "Would you do it for our smaller dog?" And I was like, I kind of still like him, but he's also kind of an asshole, so because he keeps chewing on stuff. So I'm like, of course. I said I'd think about it for a second, but and then there's my bigger dog, and she's my big baby. And I was like, I said you wouldn't so that there wouldn't even be a thought. I'd already be there. And she goes, "What about the cats?" And I was like, Amazing Grace.
My biggest thing is that you do a lot more for a dog. I seem to like a cat. It seems like it can just almost get away with shit. It's like a cat can't. A cat does something or it looks like it's in trouble. It always, the term, it always lands on its feet, or it dodges out of the way just in time. It always just seems, the whole freaking, it's got 9 lives and shit. You always see, but a dog, I don't know, it just invokes a reaction for somebody to want to go, I don't know, my dog getting, I mean, if I saw my cat getting drugged, I mean, if I wasn't a cat person, but if I saw a cat getting drugged by a bear, and it was, but I would just be like, oh, fucking poor cat.
As much as I, like, my wife just kind of like came down and looked at me.
You getting looked at?
Like I got looked at.
Right, okay. Let's change the subject.
As much as I say I would, I mean, she knows that if I literally saw, of course, the problem is our cats are like, they're one's a run. Like she gets stepped on and she's that's it, like lights out. The other one's a little fatter, but they're so small that bear, that's an hors d'oeuvre for this bear. So there's not, I might just be like, well, F. But I think I would still, but I look at it this way. I want an animal that will do as much for me as I will for it. Like a dog, if something happened to me, like how many stories have you heard of a dog pulling kids out of a fire or alerting people to this? What about Lassie, damn it? Lassie was alerting about Timmy falling in a fucking well all the time. Granted, there are exceptions to the rule. Cats have been known to, like, there's a great video where this random ass dog, I remember if it was a pit bull, And he like comes up and just grabs this kid who's playing in the front yard,
Right,
tugging
and-
on.
yep, and the cat-
and this cat just ran like,
Yep,
"Ah," and
exactly.
just gets it. And I'm like, okay,
That's
that's
but see,
the exception. That's a gangster.
That's exactly
I
it.
think I've heard one
Yep.
other thing where a cat has pulled like a baby out of like a burning house where people could get at it. That cat's a gangster. But we're talking the whole, and cats suck because they don't care. If something happens to me, if somebody opens my door and my dog knows that everyone's in the house and accounted for because we do checkouts and everything. My dog has a sheet and keeps track. My dog will be at that door ready for war. Like, it doesn't need a gun, it just says, I have teeth and a mean demeanor. I'm going to eat somebody today. Like, my
Right.
dog is the sweetest thing, but you hear her bark, like, it'll scare the devil.
No,
You have to be
you're
careful.
right. I've seen videos of cats going after other dogs, and I can see that. But then the owner of that cat, I remember which video he was talking about, saying that the cat thinks it's a dog. So that's kind of a
there
different.
you go.
So
that's
that's
the
a different story. So the cat thinks it's a dog. It's like a dog. So there, it doesn't count. I'm telling you, if it'd been any other cat, it probably would have been like fuck them kids and just like push the kid towards the dog. You know, it's how.
You know how many stories I've heard that like a little cat lady has had cats and then she died and the cats went, well, I have no money for Chinese and like partially eat the lady.
Yes, yeah, you're talking about the cat. Oh man, the
Like,
the
a dog will
single
literally
old
bark
ladies.
at
Yes, single old ladies have had they're like hoarders and shit. Or actually, just dudes too. It's just like women, but hoarders, just hoarders.
People like people
Yeah.
who have cats.
Yeah, and they just like
have died with the cats. And
Yes.
the cats went,
Yes.
well, I gotta eat.
Yeah, exactly. The cats start chowing on you.
Bruno's
It's
gotta
like,
eat.
Yep.
So nums, and they find like half a person there because the cats have been like slowly, eating it away or whatnot. A dog will, you've seen the videos where dogs will stay there and then will bark and get someone's attention, and all of a sudden, and everyone feels bad for the dog. And here's another thing: how many videos have you seen where somebody has passed away and the dog is literally crying at a grave because they know the difference?
Dude.
Those kill me.
Yeah,
Like, I saw one where
I can't.
I think it was a soldier who died in Afghanistan. And
Yes.
and this dog is literally crying, and I'm just like, no, and just like all the feelings.
It's howling, crying. It wasn't just.
And there's nothing you can do. This dog
Right.
feels like so terrible.
Right. Yeah, I remember that one. It was at his coffin, I think is what it was, and it was like crying and upset and oh, dude, it was just God, it was insane. It was people were just like, oh. I saw that picture, man, and the dog wouldn't move. It wouldn't. As a matter of fact, I think somebody just sent me a picture of that. This gets my fucking feels when I see this shit. Just how, you don't see cats doing this shit. You don't see this
cat would eat them.
I'm saying the cat would have
wondering how you taste.
Yeah, or the cat. Yeah, the cat would have fucking like knocked his shit off of his fucking casket or something like that. Or I'm sorry, I just don't see. I just don't. I know. I just the bond that people have with dogs.
I want a furry companion that is as happy to see me as I am to see it. Like, my smaller dog is well, he can jump. He's like he's technically a medium, but like he's like borderline, and he literally will, like, as soon as I walk in, will try to leap into my arms. Okay, my other dog, she's part pit, she's part lab, and she's got like this the pity phase, and she's all happy and smiling and wagging her ass and everything like that. Like, she's super excited to see me. Like, I'm bombarded, and I'm like, oh, give me a second. But then I'm also like, oh my God, I love you guys so much.
Right.
But every time the cats look at me and go, "What's up, fucker?" and walks off.
Yeah. It's like, you don't see. Look at the picture that I got up right now.
The ball's been empty for about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
You might want to get up on that.
You don't see a cat doing this. You don't see a cat doing that at all. So I don't ever want to hear about when someone says, "Oh,
And before someone says that, there are exceptions to the rule.
Right.
The cats are a
Right.
disconnect, and that's why people like. My wife was a cat person. She says I like them because when they want to get pet, they come to me. We love and cuddles and everything like that. They move on. Second, they are a little bit more self-sustaining. You have a litter box and like a drop-down thing. You can leave a cat in the house for about a week and it won't give a shit. With dogs, you can't. They're little. You have to. A little more tending because someone has to go let it go out unless you have a door and like one of those lockable fucking doggy doors, which are actually pretty cool. And then so the cats are cool, self-sustained. Like, they don't give a shit. And dogs are like, no, they'll like. You feel like when you leave, you feel like the worst fucking human being possible. Like I left for a weekend with my wife to go out on a couples retreat, which was kind of awesome. And I felt more about leaving my dogs than I did about my kids. Like my kids were fine; they were with my grandparents, their grandparents, and they didn't give a shit. They're like, "Deuce, daddy."
Yeah, dude.
But my dogs are like, even though we left them with family, like, no.
Yeah, dogs are like, they like run after you when you drive away. You're like, oh my god. So
eyes like they, you don't have to say it, they just know like, why are you leaving?
Yeah, exactly. Why are you leaving? Wait, where are you going? Wait, this is a trap. What are you doing? You know, it's like fucking. So okay,
cats are like deuces, bitch.
Yeah. So what? So I know. How did we get on this fucking subject about dog? Because you wanted a dog.
Know.
So real quick,
I'm glad we did because dogs rule, cats drool.
Exactly, dogs rule. All right. So we were just talking. Me and Flash were talking on the break, shooting the shit about some other stuff, and we were also shooting the shit about the fact that now there are individuals that are saying, because we're rolling into the sports page. There's been a I guess the sport of boxing now has been almost, they said it's a joke now. It's almost like you can't even, it's because there are people now that are just calling each other out and fighting. So Flash, what were you talking about? Who was going to fight who now, or who's going to do what?
So last week, last week, right? Yeah, it was last week.
Yeah, it was last Saturday.
I'm losing my days. 2 weeks ago, so Saturday before last, we had, about the, dang it, Mike Tyson versus Jones Jr.
Yeah.
Brain. They went at it in an exhibition. The whole night was an exhibition match. While the co-main event and the main event were very entertaining, when it comes to what it actually means for boxing, as in like standings and stuff, not a damn thing. It literally was boxing. It no different than having a guy box a kangaroo. Like it's the same fucking. It was an entertainment fight and a nostalgia fight, instead of something that actually really matters. So some people, there's some analysts on ESPN over last week who are saying, well, this is kind of a flash in the pan thing. It's not really going to open much doors. It's something that sports needs right now, and people need is just like a little bit extra entertainment type of stuff, like a little bit different, because COVID's got us like down and depressed and stuff like that. Stay strong, my people. And there'd be a lot of people didn't think that this was going to kick off whatnot. Houston, we have issues because as we remember, Mike Tyson, Jones Jr. went at it, and then on the other card we had Jake Paul and Nate Robinson.
Yep.
Nate Robinson,
hilarious fight,
going
awesome
at it
fight
with Jake Paul. Getting the W by knocking the shit out of Nate Robinson.
That's right.
He was all
glorious, glorious.
And if you haven't seen on social media, there's people who have been trashing on Nate Robinson, how he's posed. It's just like laying like he got knocked out in front of like refrigerators and stuff like that. If they're the best things ever. Awesome. Well, we brought out two legends, so why don't we bring in another one? Retired boxing champion Floyd Money Mayweather Jr. announced this Sunday he will return to the ring. Woohoo! It's Floyd Mayweather. He's going to fight someone like legendary, right? Like he's going to fight somebody in his class. I mean, this man is the best. Is the best pound for pound fighter. This man has raked in millions and millions of dollars, and not even endorsements and shit like that. Just kicking people's asses. The guy's got quick hands. Even when he fought Mayweather, when he fought Conor McGregor in 2017, and then retired afterwards because he beat up a UFC guy. That was probably the start of this whole entertainment boxing stuff instead of like boxing as a sport. You envision a monumental fight between Floyd Mayweather and, well, shit, you're gonna get YouTuber Logan Paul as a super exhibition.
Who the hell's
against
that?
Fucking Floyd.
Who's that?
Mayweather Jr.
Who's that dude? Who's Logan Paul? Who's that? Who's he? You said he's a brother?
So Logan Paul is he's the brother of Jake Paul. Both of them have been taking up boxing to a, how do I put it the best way? They've really, when they did their whole, like, we're going to box people, they didn't just go, oh, we're going to, like, they didn't pull a Nate Robinson, train a little bit, and then jump in the ring. Like, these guys have a regiment. Like, they are prepared. Well, guess what? he's going to have to be prepared because, what is it, on February 20th of next year, according to the Post and from Floyd's Instagram page, it's going to happen February 20th. The bout will be available pay-per-view and all that good stuff. The first million purchases will cost $30 as they go. Kind of like paintball. Like you have the early bird, and then like as it gets closer, they rack up the price. So if you are the first million up to get the pay-per-view, it's like $25. It increases to $40 after that. And then on December 29th, the price jumps to $60 and then $70 on February 11th. So if you really want to see this, you might want to, $25. I mean, just don't go to Wendy's next week and good to go. The announcement comes, a week after, Logan Paul's brother, Jake Paul, knocked the fuck out of Nate Robinson, which was awesome.
I know you were waiting for a dig to do that one.
Oh, man. Nate Robinson, I'll fight you. I'm waiting for it.
I'll fight you. I fought you.
So Logan Paul has fought before. He's fought twice. He twice fought vlogger and rapper KSI, with the first bout ending in a draw and the second one with KSI's victory over Paul. So technically he's 0-1-1. Mayweather, who was undefeated in his career with a record of 50-0, is considered one of the best all-time greats. Going to make the Hall of Fame, which is located in Canastota, New York. Boxing Hall of Fame, and in the U.S. is in Canastota, New York. Good luck finding Canastota on the map, but hey, it's there. He retired in 2017 after beating Conor McGregor in a fight that Forbes estimated generated more than $550 million in revenue. Mayweather earned a reported $275 million, a sum generated both from his role as a fighter and also as a promoter. See, there it is. That's exactly how this fucking exhibition match started. It's fucking Conor McGregor, calling out Mayweather and then fighting it out. They said, as of right now, I'm doing exhibitions. Mayweather told ESPN, I'm 100% sure that I'm not fighting against any boxers anymore because he's getting slow and he knows he'll get his ass whooped. Who knows? But he announced in 2019 he was coming out of retirement in 2020. So there we go. We're turning into, boxing is going to be forgotten. It's just going to be like do you think, celebrity death match. But
I was about to say, but do you think now? Because I know there's some sanctioning bodies now that are saying that it's too much. This is too much to have this going on now, where this is unsanctioned and it's ruining the sport of boxing, and everything's just going to be a call out, and there's no bracketed sanctioning body like the IBA, IBF to sit there and say, yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is. You just said it right there. It's because the promoters are losing cash, and the governing bodies are losing cash with the large purses. I could just imagine. This is what exactly that. Have Stallone and Arnold do a fight. Jorge, I think that'd be hilarious to see that. You want to fight me? Let's go. I'll kick your ass, Having Arnold do a freaking call out to Stallone. Well, come on, kill me. I think it'd be awesome. That kind of a celebrity death match, like you said, man. Hell, yizzle. But that's just me. I don't
they don't give a fuck what these sanctioned boxing organizations fucking think, because here's the thing, they don't need them to do boxing matches. They're a non-entity.
Bro, that's what I'm saying.
Boxing as a sport.
That's exactly what it is.
Why do you think they don't show they only show what, 1 or 2 fucking horse races on fucking TV, like damn it. Now I'm forgetting them. Anyways, they only show a couple of horse races on TV because the majority of the time they don't make money. Right. I mean, what was it? Fox
Jessica Alba. Jessica Alba. You know what, Wayne? That's right, man. Baconair's got a point. Jessica Alba and Jessica Simpson. That's what I'm talking about. Some straight, some women fights too. Have a women's a straight call out like that. Oh, there's some.
Let's do it.
Yeah, that's awesome stuff.
But I mean, they don't care. If it makes. As long as they continue to make money, no one will care what these organizations say, because technically no one's going unless it gets we have a celebrity championship belt, when then we should be like, okay guys, back up, Now you're being a little extra. Now you gotta take off the UGG boots and calm the fuck down.
Take off the UGG boots.
but outside of that, like if people want to pay $70 to watch Logan Paul and Floyd Money Mayweather duke it out, let them. Who the fuck cares? Because if the money's there, they're gonna do it. So either boxing needs to do better boxing needs to do better in promoting and creating these fights, because I'll tell you what, I've tried watching boxing recently. I can't. And maybe because UFC's made I want more. Kick him in the face. I actually want boxing's to me, I know there's an art to it. There's a science. I was in Germany with a guy who was a boxing coach, on his free time with a couple of units. And I've gone to some of his classes and done workouts with him, and whoo, damn. And I get it. There's an art to it. Everything they do, every step, every breath, every jab, and everything. There's every tie up. There's an art to it. There's a reason. But with UFC, it's just there's so many different styles. You can be a grappler, you can be mixed, you can be better at, a striker and, more of a stand-up kind of guy. There's more combinations, and it makes things way more interesting. That with boxing, it's just, and UFC does a shit ton better with promoting their fights. Even their, hey, this isn't we're going to have 18 championship fights tonight. We have a bunch of people you don't know, and one really good fight that's more of a, we're testing the contentions between the number 4 and number 5 fighter. They still do a shit ton better job at marketing those and promoting those than they do with 99% of boxing. Unless there was, when it was the last time boxing was a big thing, was when that I remember personally, that it was Floyd Mayweather versus Conor McGregor, which didn't really count as boxing.
Yeah. And
Pacquiao versus Mayweather. I remember the Pacquiao Mayweather fight. I don't remember any other fights. I don't, nothing's really come across. Google hasn't come and just been hey, you should check out this fight.
Right.
It's, I never see it anywhere. And I subscribe. I mean, I like and follow those pages, but I see UFC a lot more. And maybe because they had the Ultimate Fighter and stuff like that, they had all these other shows, but maybe the product's just better for UFC. But boxing just, to me, is one of those sports that's just isn't what it used to be, and they aren't promoting it well. So if the promoters feel that they can promote these exhibition matches that are going to get a top dollar and a ton of pay-per-views, why wouldn't they do it?
Yeah, and that's because now you're not really worrying about. I mean, I'll be honest with you. Right now, Don King is probably trying to sanction something to not have this happen. Because Don King's a big promoter. Don King Productions is a huge a boxing promoter. He's gonna want some of his. He's gonna want some of his cut. You know what I mean? He's gonna want to have his, his fingers involved in all this money that's happening. And if he gets that taken away by just doing these international, you know what I mean? I'm just man, fuck that. He's just gonna. Why do that when you can just do this? I mean, that's just me though. Anyways, so I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. Go ahead, continue.
Oh no, sorry, I was answering somebody back. Yeah, so is Logan Paul and Floyd Mayweather going to be a outstanding fight? No, I honestly feel like Logan Paul is going to take it really seriously, and Mayweather is going to kind of joke around or whatnot. Because I think Logan Paul has some hype against him, but it is Floyd Mayweather, and he's quick and fast, and he even retired. I'm pretty sure he can outwork the shit out of most fighters today. I'll be if somebody invites me over to watch it, I'll chip in a couple bucks for the pay-per-view. Outside of that, I don't know. It does seem like with Nate Robinson and Jake Paul, it was comparable. Even though Nate Robinson's an athlete, he's not a boxer, and even though Jake Paul's not an athlete, he's prepared more. He's done more as boxing. So there was some middle ground. There was room for both of them to get better, to be, they were more matched up. I find this fight to be a little, I don't know. It's Logan Paul. Who the fuck cares? Maybe if it was Jake Paul, but Jake Paul just had a fight, so he's not going to be ready. That again, Jake Paul, Nate Robinson was the undercard. The top card was the Mike Tyson Jones Jr. fight.
Yeah,
that was what people really wanted to see. the Jake Paul, Nate Robinson, everyone thought was going to be like, they just turned out to be like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Now you're kind of like mixing the two, the undercard in the championship, in the main card, into something that I don't know if it's going to work. But we'll see what happens. And this might be, for boxing, they hope God this doesn't work because Mayweather just like knocked the shit out of Logan Paul and they call it a day. Or maybe they give they do like he does 3 rounds and then knocks the shit out of him.
Yeah.
And then they call it a day.
Hey,
or maybe this
real
is
quick,
successful.
Real quick, Flash. I got some breaking news right now from Victoria Yeager. It is a profound sorrow that I must tell you that my life-loved General Chuck Yeager has passed just before 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. An incredible life well lived, America's greatest pilot, a legacy of strength, adventure, and patriotism will be remembered forever. So I just got this over the wires. General Chuck Yeager, the first human to have ever broken the sound barrier, and a World War II ace, has passed at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time per his wife. So
that's very sad.
That's
damn.
Yeah, that sucks.
Fucking 2020. Everything about 2020 is just trying to fuck shit up.
Yeah, dude.
Now they're trying to take boxing too.
As a legend, Chuck Yeager's a legend. You ever see the movie Right Stuff? See some of the stuff that's all about the breaking the sound barrier and all that. You would definitely see. God, that sucks, man. Chuck Yeager, and he's pretty witty on Twitter too. He'll and social media. So he will shit, that blows. Obviously, everyone knows him as breaking the sound barrier with the Bell X1 named Glamorous Glennis. And the aviation world is definitely lost an icon. And I'm going to see if we got some... it just literally just broke right now. So, that sucks. That sucks.
Man, I feel like we should just end the show now because I just like lost all motivation.
Yeah, I'm about to say I really don't fucking feel like talking anything.
Like I don't know where I have to go from there. Now.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. So if you guys just catching up right now, Charles Edward Yeager was a United States Air Force pilot, fighting ace and record-setting test pilot. Began his career in World War II as a private in the United States Army Air Force, serving as an aircraft mechanic, and entered enlisted pilot training upon graduation. Was promoted to the rank of flight officer, which is like basically the equivalent Army Air Corps equivalent of a warrant officer, and achieving most aerial victories as a P-51 fighter pilot, where he was known to shoot down the first German jet fighter, the Me-262, with a prop plane. So after the war, Yeager became a test pilot and many types of aircraft, and of course everybody knows about the experimental rocket-powered aircraft as the first human to officially break the sound barrier on October 14th, 1947, where he flew the Bell X-1 at Mach 1 at an altitude of 45,000 feet. Yeah, he commanded fighter squadrons and wings in Germany as well as in Southeast Asia and in Vietnam. In recognition for outstanding performance in his rating, he was promoted to Brigadier General in 1969, but he retired in 1975 and still flew. He still flew afterwards. That's insane, dude.
Fucker's crazy.
I know, dude. He's a boss, dude. So, with that, I just kind of... that sucks. That really fucking blows. Yeah. So, I guess also want to talk about... might as well just go do some housekeeping since we're doing this. We had Torre from Dogs to Dog Tags on tonight. Thanks, Torre, again for coming back and shooting the shit with us and hanging out. We also have we're getting a lot of good guests coming up. I know the front desk and CQ and his connections and all that are really getting them up. On December 10th, we're gonna have Dave Trenton and Nick Cotrill from Veteran Trash Talk, and they're gonna be coming on Sergeant's Time to talk about their podcast. Their podcast is basically Veteran Trash Talk, and then we're all going to sit back and shoot the shit and just trash talk. That's the way it is. That's going to be on December 10th. And, of course, you guys know that we're still doing you guys saw a little commercial with the All Warrior Network and awesome shit my drill sergeant said. And We Are the Mighty. Again, we got a show four times a week. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. Like right now, you're listening to the Monday edition, and then of course you have Tuesday with CQ with Pop Culture Warrior and the Unpop Cultured Radar. Wednesday's a day off. Thursday, starting time with me and Spanky, and then we have Friday with Kicking a Cause and the Pooks. So again, y'all have a good night, and y'all take it easy. Shots.
Everything stated on WTF Nation Radio is to be considered the opinion of the person that stated it, and not an official representation of WTF Nation Radio or U.S. Army WTF Moments.
Price does not include tax, title, or license. Some assembly required. Each item sold separately. Batteries not included. Objects in mirror are closer than they appear. If conditions persist, contact a physician. Individual results may vary. Keep out of the reach of children. Avoid prolonged exposure to direct sunlight. Keep in a cool, dark place. And
please enjoy the show. Shots.